I will give you the floor on the Tyson Fury-Deontay Wilder fight that went down on Saturday night. What were your thoughts taking that one in, Kevin?
Well, I thought it was going to go. Actually, I might have been the only person who thought it was going to go that way. Deontay Wilder became vastly underrated in the past 19 months, Rich. I mean, it's a little bit like a football team where we see them lose one game and we just sort of get off the bandwagon. Wilder still was the hardest puncher in the sport. Tyson Fury was talking about that going into the third fight last week. He was saying, guys, Deontay Wilder still has the hardest right hand in boxing. And so this was always on the table that he was going to change his game plan a little bit. He was more aggressive. He only landed 9 jabs, but he threw them. He changed his game plan a little bit. That's what he had to do. So Fury's the better boxer. If they fought 100 times, Fury would win the vast majority of them. But I was not surprised there were some knockdowns because when Deontay Wilder gets in the ring with a guy, he knocks them down. That's how it normally happens. And now Wilder knocked him down in 2 of the 3 fights they've had. They're not going to have another fight, I assume. But we saw boxing at its best, basically, and we saw what over the 3 fights that these guys have had. We saw how boxers can change, the world can change, the sport can change. I loved it.
And I mean, when Wilder knocked down Fury,
yeah,
I mean, I just can't. I still can't get enough of the constant. It appears to be with these fights is the amount of seconds that Fury gets to get off the canvas. It happened again, do you think, with these 2 fighters? What do you think? That he got too much time to get up? What do you think there?
I mean, listen, there's so many in heavyweight boxing, in high-level heavyweight boxing, Rich. There are so many questions going back to 1920s about long counts, right? And I think that guys you saw that when Anthony Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz in their first fight 3 Junes ago. People were saying Joshua was getting 17 seconds in some cases to actually re-engage because he kept getting knocked down. He was the heavyweight champion in the world. So it's a gray area. I mean, I think there's still people who argue, Rich, in the first fight that with the fact that Tyson Fury basically his eyes were closed, that should have been waved off and was a knockout. People have argued that. Deontay Wilder has argued that. Jack Reese, the referee, said it was the best call in his career to let that go. So it's always a bit of a gray area. I thought it was a long count, but that's just high-level heavyweight boxing. It's all but rules are meant to be bent in heavyweight high-level boxing.
Afterwards, Fury said that he told Wilder essentially, good fight, and Wilder said, I'm not going to do anything, respectful or... No sportsmanship
is what he said.
Right.
No sportsmanship.
What's up with that?
It's a good lesson. Listen, so I was at the second fight. I was at the first fight too, but I was at the second fight where Wilder lost. And I went over to the tunnel to watch him walk back in, and he looked as defeated as any athlete I've ever seen in my life. And I've been in post Super Bowl locker rooms after a team lost. I've been in some pretty heavy-duty places as far as emotions go, and I've never seen somebody as upset as Wilder. I think that Wilder's ego was tied into the fact that he had knocked 40 guys out. And anybody he'd ever been in the ring with, he had knocked out. Even if he didn't knock them out the first time, he would fight them again and knock them out then. I've spent some time with Deontay Wilder. He's this swaggering personality, and I kind of think at age 35, he's not ready to consider himself anything other than that guy, than the guy who knocks people out whenever he gets in a ring with them. And I think he's having a tough time adjusting to this reality, and that is why I think you've seen him act a little pouty. Not a little pouty, a lot pouty in the two losses he's had.
So where does Fury now stand in terms of all time? One of the greatest ever? What do you think?
There. He's up there. He's gonna. I don't know. I mean, Usyk, who beat Anthony Joshua a couple weeks ago, now has the heavyweight championships. That fight's still out there. I mean, Fury. Everybody's been talking about what happens with when Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury get in the same ring. They're both English. They're both hugely famous. You can sell out, a 90,000-seat stadium over there. It's going to be a rout. I mean, it is going to be a rout. Tyson Fury would destroy Anthony Joshua right now if they fought, unless Joshua makes huge changes to his game, which I don't see coming. So he's up there with the all-time greats. He's going to dominate this era of heavyweight. He's talked about wanting to retire after a couple more fights. He's only 33. I don't see it, but I also see that I see maybe only 2 heavyweights capable of even giving him an interesting fight. So there's not a lot for him out there. He's really, really good. He beat Klitschko. He beat Wilder. He's going to beat Joshua. He'll beat Usyk. Yeah, he's dominating in this era.
Well, what about the fact that nobody thought that another heavyweight era was going to matter? right? I mean, let's be
Exactly.
honest, because we're now in the era of UFC. We're now in the era of there's 50 million ways to take things in. I'm holding up my phone right here, and
Right.
there's so many different ways for us to not pay attention to something that we even get a sniff of the fact that is irrelevant. And then his own personal journey. I mean, I retweeted a
Yep.
video of his honest soliloquy when he was here 2 years ago about wanting to kill himself. And how he still battles mental health, and how he is in this 21st century, a guy who looks like he's straight out of a Guy Ritchie movie, who's going to be,
Right.
Lock, Stock, and Two Vinnie Jones,
Right.
that he comes across, and he talks about mental health, and he sings to fans after he wins. He serenades them. I mean, talk about it. Shot in the arm and what he means to the sport. It really is incredible. He's one of the all-time greats. You got to give it up.
Boxing is always going to be personality driven, and it was funny because, or not funny, but my wife and I went to the first fight as a fan, quite frankly. It was in LA, and I just bought a ticket. And to illustrate kind of the journey, I showed her the video, when Tyson was in your studio, and she was all in after that because she understood the journey. And that's what boxing is about. On the other side, Wilder was going through all of this because he wanted to support his daughter. He was a beer delivery guy, and he went into a boxing gym and thought he could fight, and he could. And I think that at its best, boxing has the best stories because it's just so real and raw, and there's no hiding. And that's, I think, part of the reason Wilder can't take losing is there's just no hiding from it. You can't blame it on a coach. You can't blame it on an offensive line. It's you and the other guy. And I think that the heavyweight division can matter if there's 2-3 good fights that everybody gets into. I think that it was really hard. I mean, listen, I was at the first fight just as a supporter of boxing in L.A., and it was not sold out between Wilder and Fury. I don't think a lot of people cared. Then they had that epic match. It built on itself. I went to the second one as a journalist. DiCaprio was there. Mahomes was there. Khalil Mack was there. It became a huge, huge thing. I did not see Mahomes and DiCaprio at the first one at the Staples Center, okay? But boxing has a way of building on itself, and that's what you have to give these two guys credit for, is they entertained us so much they got us talking about heavyweight boxing again, when frankly, I'm with you. I thought boxing was going to be more middleweights, more featherweights, more welterweights. Heavyweight boxing for right now is back.
Brockman and TJ were at that first fight. I don't know if were you not close to.
Well, we ran into Kevin in the lobby, but yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Clark, you ran into them there in the rotunda, in the Staples Rotunda.
Famously, Brockman said he wanted to bet on a draw and didn't do it.
Yep.
That is.
I think I might have talked him out of it.
That is, by the way, that is so on brand. I can't tell you how on brand that is. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.